There's no black America or white America or Asian America or Latino America. There's the United States of America. I continue to believe in is that this country wants to move beyond these kinds of divisions. That this country wants something different. It is within our power to join together to truly make a United States of America. And that we have to do not just so that our children live in a more peaceful country and a more peaceful world, but that is also the only way that we're going to deliver on the big issues that we're facing in this country. We can't solve healthcare divided. We cannot create an economy that works for everybody divided. We can't fight terrorism divided. We can't care for our veterans divided. We have to come together. That's what this campaign's about. That's why you're here. That's why we're going to win this election. That's how we're going to change the country.
That whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots.
I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually.
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Can I ask you what you identify as?
Identify?
Ethnicity?
I identify as an American.
Not an African American?
Let me just be clear. I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action.
Give me one thing that white people and black people have different biologically.
Don't change the question of this. Like DNA-wise, we are different.
No, we're not. That's a lie. It has been disproven. Front page of National Geographic 6 months ago. Racism created by society. If you look at DNA independently in a science laboratory, they cannot distinguish between a black person or a white person if they look at just the DNA, because the only difference is the melanin. It has been disproven. Race is a social construct that I want to break out of.
Yeah, I had to work on my own merits and promote the principles I believe in, which is freedom, equality for all, which I believe that America does. And that's how I got elected into my position. I didn't get elected into my position because of the color of my skin or do any race baiting stuff that it seems like you're promoting here.
I want to ask a question of you. What does it mean to be an American? Is it an idea or a history, a shared history, or is it a skin color?
But if you go back to the original founding fathers, they intended this to be a European nation for white men of good stock and character.
Can you show me where in the United States Constitution it says that?
It wasn't in the Constitution.
It wasn't in the Constitution because they didn't believe it.
The founders are explicitly clear.
What does the phrase e pluribus unum mean? What does the phrase e pluribus unum mean?
Why is that relevant?
Because it was on every founding document and presidential seal from our founding, which means out of many, one.
Come on.
You, sir, and your ideology is not conservative. It is right-wing, identitarian, and has no place in the conservative movement, my friend. Get out of line. Get out of line.
When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice.
You're promising free health care for everybody, college for everybody, paid leave, and you haven't yet said how you're going to pay for it.
Universal health care sounds good, but it lowers the accessibility, it increases wait lines, it increases costs. And by the way, we're already close to a universal health care system right now. You can just walk into an emergency room and you will get care.
I will snatch their patent so that we will take over.
Big win for President Trump, who is trying to codify, make permanent some of these DOGE cuts. So overnight, a historic moment as the Senate passes its first rescissions package in decades.
The Internal Revenue Service caused an uproar last year when they targeted Tea Party groups. Now it seems they're doing it again.
That requires of this moment that we direct a statewide order for people to stay at home.
A dozen troopers fired for not getting the COVID vaccine.
Removing people principled enough to say no to their leadership is how you create a compliant police force to enforce a police state.
Light them up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
If the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large, unelected bureaucracy. But you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people.
Zuckerberg detailed how senior Biden officials repeatedly pushed Meta to remove certain COVID-19 content in 2021. Zuckerberg also admitted that Facebook made an error in suppressing the Post report of Hunter Biden's laptop ahead of the 2020 election.
So to me, democratic socialism is a belief that every person should have what they need to live a dignified life, and that it's local government's job to ensure that, and that it's local government's job to ensure that, and that it's local government's job to ensure that.
In other words, on issue after issue, we cannot rely on a rule book written for a different century.
2 senators per state is undermining democracy. And I say, rather than a series of constitutional amendments, isn't it time to start thinking of a new constitution?
I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
A network of municipal-run grocery stores, one in each borough.
The question should never be, how do we take money away from people? That's easy. That's theft. You do that when you're 3 years old. The question that society has to answer instead is, how do you create wealth? That is a much harder question.
I would freeze the rent.
I am today ordering a freeze on all prices and wages throughout the United States for a period of 90 days.
This was the first time that widespread price controls were used in the United States since World War II. One of the many problems was the price freeze didn't apply to all goods and services. So the price of chickens couldn't go up, but the price of agricultural goods and chicken feed could go up. And the result was chicken farmers that couldn't make a profit off selling those chickens, so they drowned them. Let's just assume the equilibrium price of chickens is $20 and the quantity that we're gonna have produced in the market is 30 million chickens. That's the socially optimal quantity where there's no deadweight loss and we've maximized consumer surplus and producer surplus. If the equilibrium price of chickens is $20, but the government says you can't raise the price of chickens above $10, the result is gonna be a shortage. At a $10 price, consumers wanna buy 50 million chickens. That's the quantity demanded. But producers have no incentive to produce them, so they're only going to produce 10 million chickens.
Who just broke Obama's record for filling the Federal Register with the most regulations of any president in a single year.
By some estimates, the regulatory state is a $2 trillion additional tax on the American economy. I think one of the regulations that really infuriated people the most was when the federal government started telling people what car they can drive.
Yes,
and that they can't use gas stoves. Things that hit them right in the pocketbook and right at home. Right, because people are saying, wait a minute, the federal government is telling me what I can put in my kitchen?
One of the very first actions of my administration was to impose a 2-for-1 rule on new federal regulations. We ordered that for every one new regulation, 2 old regulations must be eliminated.
Well, one of the impressive things about what's happened in the past year is deregulation. And presidents always talk about it, but he and his people have followed through on it. You just look at what's happening in the energy field with a combination of technology. In a decade or so, we could be the lowest cost producer of oil in the world. We're now the largest producer of oil in the world. This is unbelievable. No one would have believed it a few years ago.
I would argue that identity politics is exactly who we are.
And it's exactly how we won.
Second sort of safe space we're talking about is a actual physical safe location for different identity groups.
A university isn't a home. That's not what it is. It's a place to be confronted by, I would say, often horrible ideas. You want to learn about history? You think that's going to be safe? Do you know what human history is like? It's an endless bloodbath.
Today, we got to talk about Virginia Tech having 10 different graduation ceremonies for different subgroups of people that attend the college.
You know Thomas Sowell, right? Okay, it's a great book called Discrimination and Disparities, where he argues that it is an immature view to act, wow, there's a disparity, it must be racism. There are hundreds of other contributing factors. Racism is an action, not a result. You got to show me an action.
Don't let them get a second of news. Fuck these guys, bro. Fuck that shit. The fuck.
Hey guys,
it's the real news. It's the people
they
out here.
They can say whatever they
fuck
want.
Republicans,
it's not a big deal.
Fuck Donald Trump and fuck Fox News.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce.
The people are going to turn on them. They're going to protest. They're going to absolutely harass them.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your... You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out.
Top tech companies have come under fire over allegations of anti-conservative bias. Now, a leaked internal memo from Google shows the allegations may actually be true. Here's
a document from inside Google. It's an internal briefing describing and admitting that Google has shifted towards censorship in recent years.
The flames of dissent on the campus of the University of California, Berkeley. Around 1,500 students assembled to protest the visit of Milo Yiannopoulos. The demonstration descended into violence as masked individuals smashed windows and clashed with police, forcing the cancellation of Yiannopoulos' speech to the student body. More than 100 UC Berkeley faculty members had last month urged the event to be scrapped.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
And we begin with breaking news. History in the making as a former American president is booked into county jail.
Look what happened.
Donald Trump was almost assassinated yet again. And who is the media blaming? Well, Donald Trump.
But I think the bigger issue is with sort of the masses. I mean, a meaningful percentage of people who describe themselves as very liberal say assassinations are okay.
I'm black first.
Yeah.
I'm black first.
I always tell you I'm black first. I start there.
We get caught up in where the ship dropped us off versus where the ship picked us up.
Decir unas palabras en español porque yo soy guatemalteca con mucho orgullo, primero que soy americana.
All these people got to get out of their colonialized minds and stop thinking, oh, I'm not this, I'm this. Okay, yeah, you can be Latin,
and
but you're black first.
You're going to always be this social construct of black first because that's what people see first.
Hold on a minute. Liberals have been telling us for years that not seeing race is racist. Anyway.
No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core.
Accuse your enemy of what you are doing as you are doing it to create confusion. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state.
You think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
You see, the useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. It's a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB. Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result? You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. The process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, this is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C. The United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to.
It will always remain one of democracy's best jokes that it provided its deadly enemies with the means by which it was destroyed.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes. Are they going to put people's lives in danger? Yes. Are they going to endanger the planet by not dealing with climate change? Yes.
A lot of people have tried to draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous.
You could see how an unstable person would hear that over and over again and believe that he is going to become a hero by taking out Hitler 2.0, right?
We condemn violence in the strongest term.
I said, no. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take you behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death. Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on you and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out.
Areas of Los Angeles are now under a curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. as protesters have been clashing with police for days.
We're in a war right now.
We are at war.
So you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
And that's why the gloves are off.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Today, the Justice Department arrested, booked, and arraigned Donald Trump.
What the American public want is for us to bring actual weapons to the smart fight. This is an actual fight.
You know, this is literally call to arms.
The MAGA movement is a threat.
Says that, when they go low, we go high.
No. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high.
When they go low, we kick.
We take them to the mud and choke them out.
And make sure that they stay down. And you know what? Kick them when they're down because they deserve it.
Get up in the face of some Congress people.
We have to fight this in the streets.
We're going to fight it in the streets. It's time to step out of your comfort zone and step out into the streets.
To our Republican colleagues, if you do not see the light, we will bring the fire.
Tonight, an ABC News special report, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, a dark new turn for a deeply divided nation.
1:30 this afternoon, call came out, shots fired.
Donald Trump has been targeted in a second apparent assassination attempt while he was at his golf club in Florida's West Palm Beach.
Although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what.
You know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
Yo, they got Charlie Kirk, bro. I've never been happier.
Never believe the reason I'm smiling. And it has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. Nothing to do with Charlie Kirk.
There can be no unity between good and evil. This is an ideology that runs very deep. Earlier this year, a poll found that more than 55% of people on the left believed that it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Donald Trump. These are not just some abstractions on a page. These are our fellow citizens. How can we come together with people who believe these things?
I would say pour one out for Kirky Boy, but I don't waste good beer on little bitches.
Charlie Kirk just got put down like a fucking dog in Utah, and I could not be happier. Praise fucking be.
We've all seen the flood of posts on social media over the past week, not just a fringe few, but thousands upon thousands of people gleefully celebrating a father of two young children getting gunned down in broad daylight. Blue Sky, the left-wing alternative to X, was so overwhelmed with these posts that the platform was forced to issue a statement warning its users to stop glorifying the murder. It wasn't just random social media trolls. It was journalists, elite college professors, and even politicians, all but saying Charlie's assassination was justified. We saw the flood of hit pieces, the most powerful media outlets in the nation dishonestly attacking and villainizing Charlie for the most vicious possible terms.
Look at how the bottom has fallen out related to Charlie Kirk, who was really a racist bastard.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, from the right, coming from people who want to dominate. They want their point of view.
No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core.
The idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology, is just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. And we were on the path toward that.
How can you ask us to unite under that? The facts are plain and clear, and we have to speak truth in this moment, or there's no other side of the mountain. None of this emerged out of thin air.
We have a right to violence. All oppressed people have a right to violence. And I'm going to tell you something. It's like the right to pee. You got to have the right place. You got to have the right time. You got to have the appropriate situation. And I'm absolutely convinced that this is it.
What you're seeing with Charlie Kirk is what got through. Charlie Kirk lived under a cloud just as I have. It's the reason that I stopped doing Change My Mind, where there were 12 felonious assaults, attempts at battery, and attempts on my life. And I know quite a few, and many I don't, of Charlie Kirk.
Over the past decade, we've seen an explosion of political violence, not just one-off lone wolf attacks, but organized, systemic political violence at a mass scale. It is not organic. We must reject an attempt to paint it as some kind of random phenomenon with no particular creed or ideology.
When I was in 2016 voting for Hillary Clinton, I was working in a small office then. The majority of the people I was working with were Republican. They had no problem with me saying that I was supporting Hillary Clinton. Not one of those people treated me any differently because I thought differently than them. But the minute you turn away from that, I don't agree with what the Democratic Party is doing anymore. I don't stand for that anymore. The minute you do that, the Democrats have a problem with it. But they're the ones preaching tolerance. They're the ones preaching acceptance. They're the ones talking about the hatred on the other side, when really the hatred is on their side.
The imperative is clear. At a minimum, we must expose the fraud of their subjective moral pedestal and destroy it utterly.
Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
As I said on, remember this, Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America.
Who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
Not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch.
He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides?
There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group.
That's why today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Mr. Vice President, are you aware that you're misquoting Donald Trump in Charlottesville? He never called neo-Nazis very fine people.
Well, he called all those folks that walked out of that, they were neo-Nazis, shouting hate. Their veins.
But he said specifically that he was condemning them. He said
he walked out and he said, let's get this straight. He said there were very fine people in both groups.
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
That seems to be in the crosshairs of those on the right who want to turn the clock back on the progress that has been made, writing out huge chunks of our history, slavery, suffrage, anything inconvenient, take it out of museums, take it out of national parks.
Many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So, this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week, and is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop? George Washington was a slave owner. So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
Facts and evidence have to matter again.
We're in the battle for the soul of this nation. Well, that's even more true today.
I am advocating for lawful, maybe let me clarify, ruthless violence in defense of us and our own. And if you give me 1.5 minutes, I can make it crystal clear if we need to. I want to be clear. I want those on the left to speak freely and to be able to host their events with minimal security as they do now for the rest of their lives. Just as surely, I want them to be deathly terrified of showing up and acting with the increasing violence as they have at our events.
I do. Someday I pray that we can be united as a country again and go forward together as a one people and under one flag.
Healing will require both accountability and contrition.
I feel like we as black people get caught up in that
semantics
that separates us as opposed to uniting us.
They're so close, but they choose not to see it.
They clumped us all in one group. In order to reduce our power, we need to be clumping each other in that one group and figuring out how we heal and become whole, which is literally what they're scared about. So we actually do the thing that they're accusing us of. That's how we're going to get safe.